And
I
call,
have started recording, just so you know.
okay, great. Thanks very much. Calling to order the November meeting of the St. Louis County Human Relations Commission, presented virtually. My name is Karen Oresti. As chair, let me first establish a quorum and call the roll. Commissioner and Secretary Ahmad. Guess she's working on coming on. Commissioner and Vice Chair James.
Here.
Commissioner Fan.
Present.
Commissioner Meredith.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm here.
Commissioner Pellegrini. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Robinson.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Present.
And Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
So we do have a quorum and can proceed. Also welcoming our additional guests, Peter Wilson from the Office of the County Executive, Izzy Mirzajewski, who is our contact to the office, our liaison, and Noah Goldcamp representing the Office of the St. Louis County Counselor. And hopefully Commissioner Ahmad can come on.
I'm here.
Oh,
Karen, can you
Yeah.
hear me?
I can hear you. I don't think I can see you, but I can hear you. Oh, it's the
And
phone.
by
the
the
phone.
phone, I couldn't get it to work online. I don't know what the deal is.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Azra. Glad you're here. Please note that Commissioner Ahmad is present. If I can ask for a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from Wednesday, September 13, 2023. Everybody have a chance to review? Is there a motion?
I motion to admit the minutes.
A
This
second?
is Allison.
Thank you.
Second, Dr. Stewart.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Are there any additions at all or discussion that needs to be had before we formally vote? Hearing none, can I have a voice vote on the approval of the meeting minutes for September 13? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Sorry? Anyone opposed? No. Anyone abstaining? The motion is taken. The minutes are approved for Wednesday, September 13. We turn now to public forum. I don't know that we have any participants attending for public forum. I had not heard anyone interested in speaking. Can you confirm that, Jeff or Izzy?
Yeah, there's no one in attendees at the moment. So
Okay, so we will move on from public forum to new business. I will mention this morning there was a New York Times article that is discussing the very dangerous spike in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic hate speech that has soared in particular on social media platforms since October 7th and does not appear to be subsiding at all. The hashtags are similar in many ways. Hashtag Hitler was right and hashtag death to Muslims have both spiked extraordinarily on X in particular, not my favorite social media platform, frankly, but the one that a lot of people are engaging in now, X, formerly known as Twitter. There has been violent activity against members of the Jewish community and an extraordinary killing early on in the conflict of a 6-year-old boy in the Chicago area by his landlord. That case is moving through the system. Just horrific. So I asked for representatives of both the Jewish and the Muslim community here, just to share with us a little bit so we hear from them directly about their sense of what the communities are feeling here. Azra, I assume Dr. Kazi was unable to join today?
Oh, really? He didn't join? Did he message or anything?
I don't have any emails other than the one he originally sent, which said, thank you.
Oh, let me see. Let me tell him. Maybe he's having a hard time signing in. I'll tell him he needs to sign in. Oh, let me look.
Okay, in the meanwhile, let me ask Scott to continue in the interest of time. Scott Biondo is the Director of Security for the St. Louis Jewish Federation, and has been on point for these issues for some time now. While we wait to hear from Dr. Kazi, let me ask Scott to go ahead, and then we can take any questions. Thank you, Scott, for joining today.
I'm absolutely happy to be here. Thank you for having me. So I think one of the things I could do is maybe just talk about by the numbers for a minute and throw out some data. This is going to be more national data as it's going to be very difficult to formulate and track our local things because we have that information being housed in a number of locations, but eventually we will have it. But let's just talk a little bit about things from a national level. We have two groups that typically are tracking the information regarding the Jewish community, the Anti-Defamation League, and a group called the Secure Community Network, which is a security arm of the Jewish Federations of North America. And basically the ADL is reporting about a 400% increase in anti-Semitic events over this same period last year, 2022. There are 772 incidents currently as of today logged in October, which basically by our National Secure Community Network group, which is basically the highest number of incidents of any month in 20 years. So in a 20-year tracking, basically in a 20-year tracking period, the month of October marks the highest number of incidents ever recorded for a month. And it's a 192% increase over the October of 2022. We've already surpassed 2022 incident totals, which were 2,551, logging nearly 3,500 between January and October of this year. And we're on a pace to refer about 800 individuals to law enforcement, which is basically outpacing last year's total of approximately 770. 148 of those in October alone. And then we also have monitored and are currently monitoring more than 900 events nationwide, which includes some level of escalation or violence. So these are not the numbers that we obviously want to see. It is clear that the situation in Israel having to do with Hamas has in fact affected the numbers here. One of the things that we'll be looking to see is, where those numbers are coming from. So, excuse me. For instance, we're aware that there will be individuals that will use the information or the situations occurring there to their advantage, to sort of the enemy of my enemy type scenarios, where they'll be utilizing that information to incite others to action. And that's going to be one of the interesting ones, is to see how many outside groups that aren't currently, but that are on our radar, but that aren't currently involved in this particular situation, are utilizing this information to incite others to action and violence. So, for instance, white supremacist groups, we have seen some activity where white supremacist groups are basically inciting others to take action based on information that's coming out of other foreign terrorist-based organizations. It is also one of the times where we've seen an influx of propaganda coming out in terms of calling for days of hate, days of resistance, targeting the American and Jewish interests in terms of Big Satan, Little Satan, and that information is coming out from a number of groups, not just Hamas, but we're seeing information coming out of Al Qaeda, ISIS, Hezbollah. So, just a number of foreign terrorist organizations pushing out information, calling for action against specifically American and Jewish targets at this time. In terms of locally, one of the things that we never want to see, because we've worked very hard on relationships here in the St. Louis area, and it is possible why we're not seeing a tremendous number of actions here is I really do think there's value in the relationships that have been created. And I feel like some of that has been instrumental in mitigating what could be more incidents here in the St. Louis area. And primarily most of the incidents we see that have resulted in some level of violence have been at a rally or protest wherein an individual's flag of choice or banner of choice has been basically taken by another. And if you think about the way people hold banners, hold flags, it's very possible that as you're holding onto your banner, your flag, somebody catches you off guard and goes to pull that banner or flag out of your hands. You're often not in a position to just let go. And so, sometimes just the natural reaction is to hold tighter, which has sometimes resulted in, a more violent act. In other words, a falling to the ground or being pulled to the ground type of thing, just because it catches, the person off guard. We don't know the mind, the intentions of the individual trying to grab the flag, whether they're actually trying to hurt, but at least in these incidents, what we've seen is more of a grab and run, which would somewhat indicate only trying to get the item and not trying to necessarily hurt the individual. But unfortunately, we have seen individuals knocked to the ground. We haven't seen any serious injuries, which I think is good. All three incidents that we've recorded have been reported to law enforcement, and there are ongoing investigations with regards to those. I think I'm going to take a breath here and see if there are any questions that maybe I can be more effective answering specific questions.
I'll open it up. Anybody have any questions? No. I was going to ask about kind of the white supremacy piece. That puts both groups at risk, essentially, right? They are both equally, both the Muslim community and the Jewish community are equally vulnerable.
Well, 100%. I mean, it's a common enemy for both groups, and one of the things that I consider to be problematic that always makes me a little nervous in my role is the level of silence that we hear during these periods. We're just not hearing as much from these groups as we are the rhetoric back and forth between the basically what has turned into the opposing parties that have formulated after this Hamas attack on Israel. So, it's more that silence that really concerns me, because it's either that they're acting, as I said earlier, in a propaganda mode where they're pushing out information that could be detrimental to both parties, trying to incite parties against each other, which would certainly serve their purpose. Right before this incident happened, there were actually a number of arrests made nationwide having to do with individuals. It's not that we're not seeing activity. We have a current active investigation here in St. Louis with regards to one of these individuals, but we're seeing less, and it's not as pronounced as it has been in the past.
I appreciate what you say about relationships here. The second Tuesday after October 7th was the annual dinner event for the Interfaith Partnership of Greater St. Louis. They rotate every year who, which religious community hosts, and it was the Muslim community who was hosting. It was at St. Louis University. I think they had more than 450 people show up. It was really quite impressive. And I think there was, a common, just a sense of feeling against violence and wanting to protect people and learn and just be together in that space. It was very cool. So I hold on to moments like that.
Well, and I can cite I'll cite a specific story. We do have an upcoming event, and the individual that's managing that event wanted to make me aware that there would be another individual attending as their friend, but was very concerned because the individual was from the Muslim community. And what would that look like? What would that feel like at a Jewish event? And the beauty was that I immediately knew who it was, knew that person from serving with them on the hate crimes task force, and could assure the meeting planners that there would be nothing that would make that individual feel uncomfortable, that they would be treated with all the respect that any attendee of that function would be treated with, and that would not be singled out based on any ethnicity, even in the current environment, which could potentially lend itself to that. But certainly, I think that's just one of those wonderful, beautiful points about how these relationships are so effective when we're in high stress situations where anxiety is high.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Kazi. So glad you could join us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Hi, Dr. Kazi is a member of the board, correct, of the Council for American Islamic Relations, which has had a chapter here in St. Louis for, I don't know, 15, 18 years, something like that.
That's correct.
And so we were just able to hear from Scott Biondo about some of the things that have been happening both locally and nationally relative to the Jewish community. Could you give us a sense from where you sit and CARE sits about what has been happening in terms of discrimination or worse against the Muslim community here in the region?
Well, there's definitely an uptick nationally, which we also see locally. And meaning that, in the past month before the unfortunate incidents in the Middle East, the ongoing conflict there, maybe we got one complaint, fairly minor. Someone said something to me, that type of thing. But unfortunately now there are weekly rallies, which also put different groups in close proximity with each other, and that has led to some issues. But besides that, we've had complaints of, for example, the most recent complaints that we've gotten were someone who got some hate mail just randomly, a Muslim person who got hate mail, someone who felt that they were discriminated in a local grocery store because they wore hijab or a headscarf, a female wearing a headscarf. Another example is a student who thought that she was discriminated by her professor because she was Muslim, and that's something that we're addressing. So those are the types of things that we're seeing almost on every 2 or 3 day basis, where we're contacted on how to address that. And some of those cases we refer to the FBI because we feel that they're more serious. Some of them we try to address ourselves and contact the parties involved and see if there can be some resolution and understanding.
You mentioned the FBI, the Office of the U.S. Attorney, no, I'm sorry. The Justice Department started a program over the summer called United Against Hate, asking
Yes.
all of its offices to actively bring kind of a curriculum, but they had some freedom about how they were going to do it to different targeted communities. The Muslim and the Jewish communities have both had fairly substantial meetings with law enforcement, FBI, and folks from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Dr. Kazi, do you feel that there's an increased level of trust? That, I mean, one of the issues when it comes to stuff like this is underreporting, right? People are just afraid necessarily to bring attention upon themselves. That's true in a lot of these hate and bias situations. Do you feel that there's a trust that's increased so that members of the Muslim community who might otherwise not want to report are more able to do so, feel that there's a safer space, in other words, in the region to do that?
I think there's general awareness that if there's an issue that can be addressed and your civil rights can be protected, then let's utilize the resources that are available. And for example, those departments, whether they're federal or local, have had consistent dialogue and meetings with the leadership in the Muslim community, whether it's in the mosque or outside, in terms of training us on what to look for, what is a hate crime and what is just free speech that you may disagree with. And so I think they've done a very good job, and it's something that's an ongoing project.
Okay. Yeah, and I know I am familiar with, I think the Jewish community has been pretty consistent with the law enforcement community as well. So any other questions or thoughts for our guests about what we might do as a commission to sort of spread the word, to create a sense of a place where people could come together and learn? I don't know if anybody wants to create some sort of formal statement. We talked about that. Commissioner Fan had raised that a few weeks ago. I'm not sure if that's something that people want to discuss in this context, given that not only is the war ongoing, it looks like it's going to be ongoing, unfortunately. And I don't know whether my biased statements should have value, but maybe they don't in this setting. I'm not sure how we all might feel about something like that.
So if I can clarify my thoughts around a statement,
Please.
it was that we as a Human Rights Commission or Human Relations Commission would release a statement just, stating that hate crimes and hate incidents are on the rise, and listing out the resources available and reminding folks that authorities are here willing to listen to folks, and that hate crimes are not tolerated. Something pretty short, frankly.
Okay. And a list of resources. Noah, can I ask a legal question? I never seem to have an answer for the legal questions. If I drafted something that was extremely basic along the lines of what Commissioner Fan has suggested, could we, without a formal quorum, send it to everybody and get proxy votes back that way? Or do we have to have a formal meeting in sync with Sunshine Law in order to do that and make basically what we're talking about is making a recommendation to Dr. Page so that he could then, acknowledge it along with commission members.
I think that recommendation would need to be shared in a meeting and approved by a quorum.
Okay, so would everybody be in agreement if maybe, it's like today's Wednesday, maybe next week we call a quick virtual 15-minute call just to go over a draft and say yay or nay and make a recommendation that way? Or would y'all be in support of doing something like that?
Can I suggest that we move it after the holidays? Because I could get a WebEx easier.
Oh, yeah. After Thanksgiving. Understood.
Yes, thank you.
Maybe even like for 15 minutes the Monday after Thanksgiving, something like that. Would that be okay with everybody?
Depending on the time.
It seems
Do
to
we
be-
not have a quorum today? Sorry.
We do. I mean, I just think, and Noah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we need to have very specific language and the list of resources, and everybody
Oh,
needs
yes, good point. Yes,
to
because
see it and just approve exactly what it is before I, make it all on the up and up. if that's okay. Even if it's just Dr. Stewart, you know, at the end of the day, so that it doesn't interrupt the rest of the day. That would be easier for you. Ozra, do you think that would work for you?
Yes, I think that's a great idea if we do it after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I do have I think it might be well, I have a question.
Please.
I would like, I think in the interest of time, if you write up something and send it to everybody, and ask for their input before we have that 15-minute meeting.
Can we do
Could that
that,
be done?
Noah? Can we do that or not?
So it would have to individually, it wouldn't be able to be a group
Okay,
email.
right. Okay,
It
so
would
if I
have to
send
be
something out, okay, but then what I would
individually
ask
sent.
is for everybody just to email me back individually. And it's just so long as we don't trigger sunshine law requirements.
Just no
Okay,
reply all.
Right, reply all is
Yeah.
is
Reply
not
all
our
is not
friend.
good. Reply all is not good. Okay, if we do that and then I just compile it and we talk about it very quickly, then we can do it that way. Is that okay, Commissioner Meredith? Does that help?
Yeah, I was just thinking it'd be nice to see it written out ahead of time.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay,
Karen, just give me a date and I'll set it up. You don't have to do it right now. Just
whatever the
tomorrow,
Monday after
maybe
Thanksgiving,
sometime.
whatever the Monday after Thanksgiving is.
What is that? 30th?
27th.
27th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say it at 4:40. Why don't we say at 4:45?
All right. I will make a WebEx for that right now.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Izzy. Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Scott, Biondo, or Dr. Kazi? I appreciate your taking the time to come on. I know you're both very busy, and we'll continue to keep ourselves educated as this horrible war continues. If there's nothing further on that, we'll go to old business. I understand that Mr. Murdoch is unable to be here. He's at another event. So I will assume, Theta, that there's not a formal update on the equity plan regardless. Okay.
I have no information concerning that.
Okay. Hearing that, we can roll off. I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, I guess, a new item to the agenda, which is I and others, including Philip Deitch, went to witness the St. Charles County Council kind of discussion of their resolution opposing the International Institute's program to bring migrants with documentation and sponsorship to the St. Louis area. I don't know who has read it. It's gotten a fair amount of press.
Yep.
It's a very
Caroline, that is not on this agenda. So I was waiting to see if we could pull it into the previous item. But
very
it
different.
looks like it's not related.
Yeah.
So we can add it to, when we meet
On the
on the
27th.
27th,
Okay.
but we cannot speak about that right now.
Carolyn, why don't you let me know what you want, how you want to do that, and we'll add it in.
sure.
We love to follow our sunshine law ordinances. We cross T's and dot I's. Okay, a motion to adjourn at 5:39.
Okay, motion to adjourn. This is Asda.
Thank you. And before I ask for a second, please, somebody email me if there's something specific you want to make sure we discuss before our next meeting in January 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner James. we are adjourned. Wishing everybody all the best for you and your families and all your loved ones for a very safe and special Thanksgiving holiday. And look forward to staying in touch until January. And then we'll talk again when we get the formal notice out for November 27. And look for that email.
All right.
Have a
Okay,
great
thank you.
Thanksgiving, ladies
Bye.
and gents.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.